Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Nancy, and I want to take this moment to thank everyone that subscribed, to thank everyone that left me a comment in my previous video. Thank you so much guys. Your feedback is very important in order for us to improve the content on this channel. So thank you so much, and if you are new here, please remember to subscribe, and also remember to like this video, to drop me a comment, and also to go a step further and share this video with others. So as you can see from the title of this video, I want to talk about my birth experience, me giving birth in a public hospital. And I decided to pick this topic because I feel that the experience I had, it was one of those once in a lifetime experiences. It was so new to me. It was like an experience that I'll never forget. And so I feel like it was it impacted my life in a way, and I felt that I needed to share this experience with others so that maybe there could be mothers out there who went through similar experience like I did, that is giving birth in a public hospital. So from the moment I knew I was pregnant, I decided to um, um, consult. I made consultations among my friends because I wanted to figure out what I was going to give birth from, what I was going to do my antenatal from. And so yeah, I asked a few of my friends which especially those who had given birth before, which hospital, which clinic was best in terms of offering these maternity services. And so I think from the responses I got, most of the responses seemed to point to this one clinic, which is partly owned by the government and partly private, because for every antenatal visit that I did, there was a cost attached to it. It was a very minimal cost, and it was something that I could afford and manage. And so I decided to go for this hospital, and when I went there, their services were amazing. And I think what I love the most about this clinic is that they tailored these services according to each individual's schedule. It wasn't something like the way it usually is in these government hospitals, where if they set an appointment for these antenatal visits for women, and then if when you miss, then that's it, you've missed out. You've been left out. But for these guys, it wasn't like that. So everything was scheduled around what people could manage, and that's what I love the most. And the other thing that I loved about this clinic is that it wasn't as crowded. I would go there, and everything was fast paced. It wasn't that situation where you queue up and you have to wait for hours just to be seen and things like that. Because usually during the antenatal visits, the major thing that they do is to check your BP, check your height, and just check for other vitals. And so for me, I was happy with the fact that everything was done, was fast paced, because personally I don't like spending so much time in a hospital or a clinic, because for me it's a depressing environment. I don't like seeing people suffering. That depresses me, like it just destroys me. So I love that I could dash to this hospital and do whatever that I needed to do and go back home. And so as months progressed and I kept going for these antenatal visits, I want to say this before I continue telling my story. So for me, I wanted to have an early labor, okay? Because in my mind, I thought that if my baby could come early, it wouldn't be so big. Being a first time mom, I had all these fears, I had all these thoughts, and like, I don't know, it was just a crazy thought. But at least that's what I wanted for myself. So I prayed for it. I wanted my baby to come at least in my 38th week. 39 and 40 would be like the final week. And so that was my thought process then. And so as months progressed, I got to my last trimester, I got to my 40th week. There was nothing happening, and the app that I had on my phone, that was counting down to the birth of my son, even shut down, like it closed, and still I had no contractions. And that really started worrying me a bit, because I was so anxious. I was so anxious to meet my child. Like, my anxiety just built up, and because I read all these things online, like they like, I had an idea of what would happen, and things were not going according to plan. So I started worrying a lot. And so I remember when I went to one of my antenatal visits, one of my last antenatal visits, my final antenatal visits, I was checked, and it was found that my BP was high, my HB was low, because I also had reduced, the content of the blood boosters that I was on, the blood supplements that I give to pregnant women. You drink that every day for the next 9 months, and so I didn't like the taste of those things, and I just detested, those blood supplements. I didn't like them at all. And so I like, throughout my pregnancy, I didn't have complications. Yes, at some point I caught COVID, but I overcame it. And yeah, I didn't have any major complications, and so I felt healthy. And in my last trimester, I decided, okay, you know what, I think I'm about to give birth, and this won't affect me in any way. So I decided to reduce the dosage of those blood supplements. And so that's what caused my HB to actually drop. And so when I was tested for these things, and it was discovered that my BP was high, my HB was low, I was told that I would not give birth at that clinic. I would have to go to a bigger hospital, like UTH, maybe Chilenje Clinic, and yeah, and the like. And so that news like devastated me, because I had all these ideas in my head. I settled for that clinic because I really, really liked it. Even just their hygiene standards were like, were great. Yeah, they were high. And so hearing that I wasn't going to give birth at that clinic anymore, like, just devastated me. And so what I did is, in my last in my final weeks, I started I started I doubled the dose of my blood supplements so that I could boost, my HB. I also what did I do? I also just calmed down. I relaxed. I prayed over my anxiety, and it went down. So I stopped worrying about the baby coming, because I concluded in my head to say, okay, whether I like it or not, the baby will have to come. The baby can't stay in my tummy forever and ever. A time would eventually come that my baby would come out. And the other thing that helped me was talking to my friends, my other first time moms. They explained to me. One friend of mine even told me, you know what, Nancy, even me, like, I even went to my 42nd week. That's when I delivered. So it's normal for first time moms for labor to kind of delay. And so that comforted me, and it made me calm down. I stopped worrying about, when my baby was going to come. And yeah, so my I think my BP stabilized, and my HB also stabilized. So when I went for one of my other final antenatal visits, I was checked for these things, and it was discovered that everything was perfect. And I negotiated with the nurse there. With the nurses, I told them, look, my HB has stabilized, my BP is now back to normal. Can I just give birth from this clinic that I love so much? And they said, okay, yeah, you can give birth from here since everything is back to normal now. And before I proceed with the story, I just want to I just want to highlight a lesson there. There are times when we make all these plans, right? And yet you find that God has different plans in mind. Like, God has different plans for us, and we try to push, we try to manipulate circumstances, we try to negotiate our way through the plans that we've made. And that's what I did. And also, like, just a note to pregnant women out there. It doesn't help like reading. Yes, it helps to read and just to be aware, to know more about pregnancy. There's all this information out there, but you find that there's this information that tells you, actually gives you sort of some sort of a roadmap of what to expect during your pregnancy. But what I can say is we are different, and things happen to each one of us differently. And so for me, when things were not going according to what I'd read, it started depressing me. It started giving me anxiety. And so that's just a note to pregnant women to say, look, just take your pregnancy as it comes, embrace it, and just enjoy the journey. Yes, you can read, but don't let that information get to your head. And yeah, so that's a note to pregnant women, and just a lesson to say that when we pray over things, we must learn to surrender. When we pray, we commit stuff in God's hands, and they seem to happen, or things seem to move in the opposite direction of what we expect. We should not get agitated. We should not think that we should not try to manipulate the situation. We should accept, because you already committed these plans in God's hands, and that's just God working. And I think that me being referred to a hospital, that was God working at the moment, and I just didn't realize it, but I forced my way into that clinic that I love so much. And so it so happened that towards the end of my 41st week, my labor started. I noticed something, and I told my mom, look, this. And for her, being a big person, being someone that has given birth before, she quickly realized, okay, I was in labor, because I started feeling like mild contractions. They were really mild, and I didn't really think that had nothing to do with my labor starting. And so that evening, we decided to go to the hospital, packed up, went to the hospital, to this clinic that I chose, that I so much wanted. And so we went there. I was left there. My parents had to go back because of COVID. COVID was intense that time. And so no bedsiders were allowed. And I was left there alone with the other pregnant women in labor. So during the night, my contractions intensified, and people would come. These other pregnant women would come and give birth, and I thought to myself, okay, my turn would eventually come. If these guys if these other women are coming and giving birth, obviously my turn will also come. Oh, I waited. I was being checked in the night, checked to see if the baby was coming and things like that, until it was morning. So during the day, it was the same routine, being checked and things like that. So I think it was around 10 to 11 when I was told I needed to go for a scan. So I did a scan, and I was told that my baby was too big and I needed to, go to UTH. So I was referred to UTH. And yeah, so we were put in this ambulance with this other girl whose labor had also delayed. So we were rushed to UTH, and that was now around 12, the time that we were being taken to UTH. We did the paperwork, to surrender us to release us from that clinic so that we could be admitted to UTH. And so this ambulance took us, You know, it was like an emergency. It was like in the movies, you know. So we were driven to UTH, and when we got to UTH, the ambulance nurses left us there and surrendered us in the hands of the health workers there. Now, when I got to UTH, guys, that was a different story, you know. Like for me, what I had in my head is that immediately we got to UTH, like I would be admitted, taken to theater, and I would give birth. But whoa, you know, when we got there, like there was a queue of pregnant women. Like I'd never seen so many pregnant women in one room like that day. And so we were being attended by I think they were doctors, and we made a queue where we made a queue and we were moving from one doctor to the other, being interviewed, being asked about the medical history and things like that. And so that became the routine. You know, this doctor comes, they ask you, they test you for this, they test you for that, and you know, it kept on going just like that. And then I realized to myself, okay, these people are wasting my time here. I keep on like they keep asking me the same questions. You know, this doctor comes, they ask me the question that like the same question that the other doctor asked me, and it started frustrating me. You know, my frustration like built up. I started asking this guy, look, me, I was referred here for this. What time am I going to the theater? And they were like, no, you need to relax, there's a long queue, your turn will finally come. Oh God, when I was told that, it just took me back, you know, to the onset days when we would queue up for BC the whole day. And I was like, this is that moment. Like I now had a reality check that you know, I would not be taken to the theater anytime soon, and I had to wait for how long, I don't know. Okay. And so yeah, so we sat there going through the same things, the same interviews. Imagine you are in labor, you're contracting, you know, and on top of it, I had a catheter that I came with from this other clinic. I had my luggage, and on top of it, I was being interviewed. I was moving from one interview to the next. I was just like, oh my God, what is this? You know, what is this? I felt devastated. Like if I had a way, I would have, you know, run away from that place. I would have like gone like to a private hospital. Like I regretted it during that moment. I regretted like not going to a private hospital in the first place. And so yeah, time went on, and I think it was around 16 when my family members finally came, not inside the ward, but they just stood by the door. And so they sent someone to call for me, and I went there. I was just crying out of frustration because I just had it up to here. I couldn't just take it anymore. So when they saw me, they were like, why are you crying? You have to be strong. You're hating the baby. You have to be strong until the baby comes, and things like that. So yeah, so when I heard these things from the father of my baby, from my mom and dad, I think that really comforted me. And I went back. I was admitted like in an inner ward, you know, where I was given a bed. Guys, the bed was too high. Like I've never seen a higher bed in my life like that one, you know. And on top of it, like the bed had all these things from the previous person that was there. And yeah, I don't even want to go into the details of that. But so what I did, because at that time I think that was around 17, and no strength, I'd not eaten anything. I just took my suitcase, sat on it, and leaned on the bed and rested a bit. So after I rested, I think that was around 19 going to 20, I finally gathered my strength and climbed on the bed and rested. So I would sleep and wake up, I would sleep and wake up, and my contractions at this moment became a bit mild, you know. And each time I would wake up, I would ask one of the nurses moving around, when is my turn coming, you know? And they would say, no, just wait, your turn will come, just wait, there are a lot of people this side, just wait. And so and they would tell me that, and I'll just go back to sleep. And while I was there, I would hear screams, women screaming, babies screaming, and things like that. And so I think it was around 23. It was around 23 when my turn came, and I just saw these nurses. I don't know if they were nurses, but they were dressed in that hospital attire. They came with a stretcher, that bed which has got wheels. They came with that stretcher and they said, "Are you Nancy?" Blah blah blah. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm Nancy." Okay, it's 10 now to go into theater. So guys, I was carried into theater, and I was covered in this blanket. I don't know the last time that blanket was washed. Like, it just had so many things, that blanket on it. I don't even want to go into details. Yeah, it's not that I expected a lot from a public hospital, but I feel that we can do better. We can do better as a country and as people. And so I was carried into theater. I was taken to the theater, and everything happened so fast there. All I can say is that I was in the hands of experienced um, um, doctors and nurses. Everything happened so fast. The next moment, I was hearing my baby cry, and that moment just flooded me with happiness, like with joy. Like, I was like in that state of awe. I just couldn't believe that my baby was here, and the baby was healthy, the baby was fine. So I was happy, like really, really happy. And so I went through the aftermath of theater. I think for people who've had a cesarean section before, they know what happens afterwards. And so yeah, and after that, when you give birth through cesarean section, you're not released just like that. You have to be kept under observation. So you're actually admitted in the labor ward for, I think, a week, or until your wound heals and closes up or dries up. And so I was admitted in this ward, which had another high bed. Okay, you to get on that bed, you had to climb on something for you to manage to get on it. So yeah, and while I was there, I noticed that you know there were all these mothers who had a lot of needs. Okay, there are a lot of needs in these labor wards. There are some people, there were some women who came with no formula for their babies. There were some women who came with inadequate clothing for their babies. There were some women who were there without the support of their families. I remember there was someone who gave birth to twins, and a very young girl, and she was alone, like by the bedside, because they didn't allow bedsiders then because of COVID. And the babies would cry. The girl was, I couldn't imagine myself being in that situation. And yeah, and so I wanted to share this because I feel like there's a lot more that can be done, especially when it comes to caring for pregnant women. I think it's not just about having access to medications. It's not just about giving birth. It's not, there's a lot to it. It's also a matter of caring for someone's mental health, because I think for me, after I gave birth, the next few weeks that followed through, I think I wasn't in my right mind 100%, because everything that had happened just left me in a state of shock. Okay, and it took me a bit of time to get back to my normal self, like to feel myself, because I was just yeah. So I feel that there's a lot more that can be done. Maternity health is not it's a kind of health that I feel that needs special attention and great care. It needs an extra effort, an extra mile. Of course, the nurses and the doctors, they do their best in these public hospitals. I think they do their best in making sure that they go through their rounds, they check on patients, they give you the medications that you need. But I feel that there's a lot more that can be done in caring for pregnant women or for mothers who've just given birth. You know, there's need for that extra care. There's need for also just the provision of I know, like, I think yeah, some babies were given formula um by the hospital, but I don't think that the formula that were being given was sufficient, and so there's need for all these um you know, extra help that is needed in those wards. And so I wanted to share this experience because it's an experience that, you know, that has left me thinking, and still thinking up to now about, you know, what I can do, or what we can do as a community to just help out, to reach out to these wards where there are so many needs. I know, like, there are also other areas in the health sector that has many needs, but I'll speak for the maternity wing because I've been there and I've seen, like, I've seen the needs there, and it's so it's so I don't know how to put it in words, like what women go through. Women, as like us women, we are strong people, and you know, we, we are selfless people, so to say, because sometimes you need to, as a woman, sometimes you need to forget about yourself, you know, to be able to do some of the things that we do, to be able to care for a child, to be able to ensure that you have a safe delivery. You need to forget yourself in a way, you know, and going through those processes, that needs it needs the support. It needs support from family members. It needs just, you know, material support, and just a lot of other support that women need. And so I decided to make this video to share my birth experience in a public hospital, because I thought that there could be other mothers out there who've given birth in these public hospitals, and they experienced something similar to what I went through. And yeah, if so, this is something that relates to you, please remember to leave me a comment down below. And I think you know, this should not just end in us talking, but I believe that everything starts with talking, and it's through talking and highlighting some of these things that you know, that 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 attention can be drawn to some of these needy areas that are there in these hospitals. And so if this is something that speaks to you, if this is something that you can relate to, please remember to leave me a comment down below, and please remember to subscribe, to like the video, and to go an extra mile and share it with others. So thank you so much, guys, and thank you for taking your time to you know, to listen to this story about my labor experience in a public hospital. So thank you so much, and have a lovely day.